All right, friends, we're going to do a little bit of an update here on what we've been seeing in the market, in the big wash, what our prior levels were, and everything associated with the downside journaling that we had. So in our Discord here and for weeks and weeks on YouTube here, we've been waiting for a big dump, right? And waiting is the key. The wrong one. There we go. And we had this interesting level of 609.73. And whenever we broke 609.73, I said it would return to 600 with a huge red candle spanning 10 points on QQQ, right? And we've been waiting for this, and you can check every other YouTube for days and days and days and days. But what are we waiting for a catalyst? We have no idea. Catalysts just appear, right? And in this case, it was a Trump tweet. It was about the tariffs, right? And that was the trigger point. It wasn't jobs. It wasn't FOMC. It wasn't any of the PPI. It wasn't any of the other stuff we had gotten and we had waited for and waited for and waited for. Let me go to the 5-day, 5-minute for the psychology drivers, right? So we're going to pull up a couple different instances here. We said the second it fails that 609.73, we're going to have some issues, right? So Thursday it tried. Friday had that last little exhaustion, pushed to all-time highs, swept everybody up, and then random tweet, right? You can't plan for that stuff. So don't beat yourself up if you got big reds. Don't beat yourself up if you missed a trade like that. That is a Trump tariff tweet, and those cause massive breaks. Now, if you were trading Friday and if you had, maybe marked off the same levels we've been watching here for weeks, you might have had an advantage on that first opening crack and then it closing right here because the continuation down to, as we have a volume imbalance 1 minute gap and the 100 weekly. So just to recap, if anybody had missed these, where do these levels come from? Well, we're going to go right here. We have two weekly no-tag GPs, and we have the third candle right here. So the Fibonacci I drew was from 9:15, okay? 9:15 is the candle. Oops. And then when you see the 1618 extension from 9:15, so we get the high-low, here's your 1618. We will have a hell of a time trending above 610 off a weekly Fibonacci, right? So that weekly Fibonacci trend is going to be a over under of 610 with a high likelihood of falling, right? Because holding a weekly 1618 at all-time highs is going to be quite tough. And if we go to the 5-day, 5-minute here, and you're noticing here, we have that reaction right there to that weekly 1618, broke down, couldn't fail quite yet, little pop over, it's consolidating, right? A little higher low, little pop, all-time high, and then news catalyst, right? And again, we couldn't plan for any of that stuff. It just ended up just going bonkers and slamming to that downside. And then we said, well, our targets. Now I left the gold levels on because I wanted to see how Thursday's fib goes too. So when we were trading Friday session, we always put the high and low of the prior day. So the gold levels in this instance, right here, from 611.61 to, too far, 607.47, that is the Thursday high-low pointed to the downside, okay? So I need to leave this one on. We're going to go down here, and I want to show you. Oh, wrong one. We'll stick to this one. For now. The gold is going to be Thursday's high-low. So when it broke out of that range, I want you guys to pay very close attention to this magical fib right here, something that Connor and I created off actual numerology. It's a very strong moving average, simple, and very strong Fibonacci sequence level. So when you see Thursday's high-low, right, and we already have a break point of 609 and change from this weekly right here at 610 half dollar, it snapped it, busted out of the range, and when it started to lose the pivot of 1618, it just got dominated until the 666. Now look at that after hours magnet. That's a hell of a drain. So obviously your first thought in your head is, okay, we slammed through our $600 target with a 1 minute gap open on QQQ days ago, slammed through the 3618 and 423 very nicely, slammed through a weekly GP that we had created all to get to the end of that weekly. So when the opening came, there was such a high probability chance of opening strong and gapping back up because we had something like this, right? Just massive NQ dump, right? And then huge pop off, close to 24.2, okay? So the gap and go back up to retrace some of this stuff was damn near mandatory, right? So we're going to stretch this out, and we're going to go over a couple things here, what we're going to look for now and what we looked for on the dump. So first, we've been talking about this for weeks as well. The volatility index comes through like so. and we have 18. We've been targeting 18 forever. And again, the catalyst here was completely random on the push here. And as we had seen, the 100 EMA daily looking for the breakout over and over again. So hit, then finally a random catalyst to push. We were looking for this GP at 18, and then we backed up our targets and said, guys, just hang on tight because VIX will return to 35 plus at some point. We don't know what the catalyst is. That could be our 2026 catalyst dump. Regardless, next target after that 18 has been taken out, we need to blow through highs and keep trailing back up in the macro, right? Not the second, not in 2 days, not in a week. We have to watch for it. These GPs up here need to be watched very, very closely. So this right here, 2630, and then the gap way up here at 3660. All these GPs on the way up are going to become our magnets for the VIX holding above the 100 EMA and 20 psychological. So if you know the VIX like we do, 20 is a massive, massive number here. And obviously, it's going to be coming down a little bit in today. We opened at 1949, pretty much half whole dollar, broke over 20. Now, the entirety of trend, weakness or strength will be developed on its ability to break or hold the $20 level for VIX. Right now, in the macro sense, right, longer term, shorts would win this out in fear alone, right? Can the buyers buy this up? Of course, it is way too low to be just going in a straight line if we don't have catastrophic news that is literally like country changing. Then we could get, a little bit of a gray swan, a little bit of a black swan, anything that could possibly hit it. But right now, shorts will be in control with maintenance above 20, okay? 100 EMA 5-minute is something else I want you guys to watch very close. So when we come into that opening price, 100 EMA holds, pushing back up, you will see that hold of 20 create massive fear in the market, and these are your targets. So we'll be watching very close for the volatility index to continue what it should be doing, right? Now, for SPY real quick, and then what we're going to get on to today's trade. If we go to the SPY right here, we had massive bunch of targets. And again, one of the recap videos we went over had a bunch of these targets in it. We're just going to go over SPY real quick as well. And we were looking under 663 and some other weekly targets, right? Because again, the catalyst was random. So let's clean this up a little bit here. We had these targets, and then we zoned these out right here. Now we go to the weekly chart. And again, we used a no tag GP, okay? And the random wash right here, this was, again, 9-1 for SPY. You see it kind of roll back up and push. So we were looking for anything under 663 to cause us to come down to the target of strong weekly Fibonacci support, right? Now notice where the dump on Friday ended. This was our final long target, right? We had the short under 663 called weeks and weeks ago. We played this one, right? This was the one we said once it fails under 663, it should return to green zone. What did it do right here the week of 9/15 and 9/22? We returned right to green zone. We fibbed that out from 9/8. So if you were to fib out 9/8, high-low, you notice that zone is 9/8 GP. That is why we zoned that out for a short target breaking under 663 with speed. Now, do we get the best entry? No, it was all-time high dump with a random Trump tweet. What are you going to do with that? Nothing. There's nothing in the world where somebody's like, I predict this. No, you didn't. It was an all-time high. Trump tweeted all-time high. There's nothing you can do with that. But what can we do with what we have left? Well, we have some really, really nice stuff to worry about down and up. So as I get into this, you're going to look to your left right away, and you're going to notice that obvious crack candle from the Trumpster, right? We take these candles into consideration because the levels hit inside the candle are moving averages. 666 SMA, 200 SMA, 100 EMA, 10. So on the 5-minute and the 15, which I like to do the 15s here, are going to be giving you Fibonacci intraday for today, okay? And I'm going to show you how the cycle worked out because nothing goes in a straight line. There you go. Now, the neon green mixed with the weekly, what happened? We drew the 15 to the downside. You're getting ready for your futures open. It comes down, hits a beautiful psychological 650 on SPY, beautiful 650, 14 cents on the 423, right? And we opened it, popped up, and ran right to scam shy the biggest pivot, right? So that's why we're long biased in the morning because of the recycle Fibonacci. So one more time, if we drew this fib to here, and we went down to the 1618, 2618, 3618, 4, and we don't see the 666, the second it recovers the 3618, this is a recycle, and then it recovers the 2618, And then this is the final long target because 1618, aka the golden ratio, is the biggest magnet and pivot. So if we get a beautiful hold, now again, you'll see where these algo wicks come in today. Boom, boom, right on the 2618 Fibonacci, right? 1618, the 2618 has to hold, right? So as long as the 2618 holds here, we have a chance to come up to the 1618. Notice the scam shy and high pre's, right? So we have already blasted off at the futures open, pushed into a shy, right? Pre-market high. So we got to look to our left, and we're going to notice another huge 15. And all we're going to do with that one is zone that out, because obviously these extensions are going to be just overlaps with everything else we already have. All right. So that means anything at the pre-market open, which we already posted in my Discord, will be to the 1618 potential for recycle. Again, nothing goes in a straight line. When you see a dip day like this, and then you see it start to hold prior Fibonacci bases, you go long into the pivot, which is the 1618. So we will be very adamant on 663 to 664. It's a 10-point marker there. Now remember, 663 was the weekly 1618 that we had so much trouble on. So if we do come up to here and get a little static, aka where did that algo come in? Right on the 663. We've had this for weeks, right? So if this comes up, holds the pre-market open, which we posted in Discord, that will be our biggest watch for a long potential. Anything above 66139-ish here, 38. So you will be long to the 1618. Same thing as NQ, which again, they're going to show some divergence with the news with AI, where we're going to hold 2618 like we did. Scam shied the 1618. Very, very similar. 100 EMA holds the 2618. Target is 25K, right? Or obviously just under. So when we come into 24,985, you will be watching a back test. So again, anything above the open or 2618, we are still looking for the short-term long backup while the market digests a lot of those massive Fibonacci's left open on the dump day of Friday. Okay. So we will look for that move to 24,985.19, and then we will have an opportunity to see that recycle only if we hold above 24,800. That is the key. I'm going to give it a little bit of a leeway down here because the VIX is so high. So if it does drop an extra 50 points, make sure you're on micros with the VIX is at 20. Don't mess around with this stuff. When you're on par for recycle, the only thing that can usually stop you is moving averages. So on the 15-minute chart here, you see that 100 EMA coming in for temporary resistance, sets a sweep up right here, sets up confirmation of support. What do you see for confirmation? I could only use two indicators here, especially with Fibonacci, to see the confirmation. You came opened, slammed up, broke over the 2618. After breaking over it, shied the 2618, hit moving average resistance, confirmed support at the 2618, now looking for the next higher high after a scam sweep, right? We love those fresh low scams. We used to, that's all I call them. I've learned recently that it's called liquidity sweep. I've been calling it a fresh cam low sweep for 7 years, but especially on stream, but hey, we'll get there. And anything above the 24,850, that's good psychological half whole dollar. And we'll look for that. So a breakout of the 100 EMA and the 15, I'll be watching that upside 224,985 volatility index. I'm hoping we'll come back down for a little test of recycle again. It needs to come down to the 20 and the 100 EMA and really confirm support here and just kind of chop around, letting the market digest, letting the MACDs reset, and then hopefully not just taking off back over 20 and then slamming us down, because then we'll be in chase short. Again, I have no problem on chase shorts in scenarios where the VIX is at 20. This is where we shine. This is where counter trends and big money downsides love to happen. But right now we're on the recycle to the long. We are looking for those pivot magnets, 600 over under Qs, 660 over under on SPY, and then watch your golden last but not least. So right now the SPY's high-low is something we always like to watch mixed in with the ES and NQ. We have the high-low always of prior day. So if you're looking at that dump day, stretch those Fibonacci's. You see the whole dump day right there. Right, here's the gold. So again, if it opens up inside the body, goes back to the 50. Right, there's our cycle. So we will need a live tag of this area right here. Right there, and we're going to watch this pivot between pre-market open and the gold, And please do not be overly macro long biased as the market digests. Can we go up along a little bit here in the morning? Of course. But if it starts getting speed and starts confirming under the golden pocket, which we bring up a lot, start shifting your bias to being able to come back down to the opening candle of the fuse, right? Look at this thing. Look at this thing. So I will set up a over-under like this, and I will say watch this zone. A breakdown will come back and backtest live here short. If the VIX is over 20, the long will have a chance to cycle up to the 50 in pre-market highs, resulting in that 1618 and maybe a little bit more on the ES. That is the only trade setup I have for the opening scalp. So if we do go under this, we will magnet to this zone from the GP and the preload. If we go over this, we will head to that 50 and pre-market high zone right here. The VIX is very high, so the candles on the screen are much more damaging than usual. Please pay attention to that. This gives us almost 23 points to the upside, 35 to the downside, and that is a very large swing for even ES. I also highly suggest most traders here, especially in my group, go to the ES instead of the NQ today. Make sure you're on micros, if anything, on the NQ, but slide on over to ES. It's no longer the slow grandpa mover at 20 VIX. It can actually put in some reputable moves. That is it. Tune in for the next.